The great RBG seat war of 2020 is upon us. Could Democrats impeach Trump again? NYC, Portland, and Seattle declared anarchy zones, and a grave injustice in Omaha. Welcome, friends, to the Buck Sexton Show. An honor and a privilege to have you here with me. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so pleased that I get this opportunity to tell you all to get ready for it. Oh my, things are going to get even more out of control than I anticipated. And I've been thinking all along that this is going to get so ugly. This is going to get so intense that it's hard to wrap your head around it in advance. Like, you're going to have to experience what this last stretch of 2020 before the election feels like to really know, because Democrats, they're already so insane about this. They already act like the world's going to end if Trump wins. And now on top of it, we have the momentous report of Ruth Bader Ginsburg over the weekend. It just came in on Friday evening. That Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the biggest name in liberal jurisprudence, had passed away due to complications from cancer. So now you've got, let's just review for a moment. You have COVID-19, you have a pandemic, and now it looks like Europe is terrified. They're going to have a whole second wave, which means America's going to be terrified. Oh, I thought if we just wore masks, we'd be okay, right? I mean, this is what people say. But anyway, we have the COVID pandemic going on. We have months of riots and BLM and racial tension. We have an economy that's trying to recover, but is clearly under a lot of pressure because of all these other factors. You've got an election coming up here where the incumbent president is the most hated Republican of my lifetime, by the libs, obviously, by the left. And you're going to throw not just a Supreme Court seat into the mix. We've got the single most beloved left-wing liberal on the Supreme Court, perhaps in history, one for whom there has been a long-standing cult. There's a veneration of RBG that goes far beyond just what you would expect for a Supreme Court justice. The libs absolutely love Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And now that seat is open. So you really couldn't have more tension in this political moment than you currently do. I don't know how it could honestly come close to this. This is unprecedented. I mean, you couldn't write the script for this. And as I described it over the weekend on Twitter, it feels as though there's going to be a level of crazy here achieved that is beyond our conception for what is possible. I mean, the Democrats will do things that will even still surprise you, despite the fact that we all recognize that they're willing to do almost anything if it will help their chances to defeat Donald Trump. They're willing to run a special counsel based on fabrications and lies. They're willing to do an impeachment that no one even really remembers what it was about, and no one even knew in the first place what it was. It was really just the Orange Man bad impeachment process. And yet, I think that they're going to surprise us now. They're going to come up with a new level of crazy. As I described it on Twitter, it's as though we're going to be injecting methamphetamine into a rabid squirrel. What does that even look like? I don't know. We're going to find out. This is going to be a whole other level. We will not have seen, I think, anything like this in modern American politics. And right now is the calm before the storm, although we are in the heat of the election cycle, on replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg, on filling the seat. It's not her seat. We need to be careful about how we discuss this. No Supreme Court justice owns or has some special claim to the seat that he or she once held. This seat belongs to the people of the United States. And it is the duty of the United States Senate to confirm a nominee put forward by the President of the United States. We know what the constitutional order demands here. And you're going to hear so many lies about this, and you already are. You're going to hear just sheer desperation from these libs, from these Democrats. Anything to stop this seat from being filled. We already know 2 Republican senators, one from Maine, one from Alaska, Murkowski and Collins, or Collins and Murkowski, respectively, are basically saying that they are out, that they will have no part of this, which is appalling but not surprising. These are people who are careerists, and they're going to do what they think they have to get reelected, although not going forward with the Kavanaugh nomination cost a number of senators, and it was a good thing in a sense that it did. I wish we had more Republicans, but they weren't real Republicans. It cost a number of Republicans their seats, the vote. It cost a number of Democrats, rather, their seats against Kavanaugh by voting against Kavanaugh. There were Democrats who learned that lesson the hard way. And I think it's a good thing. I'm glad to see that that's how it occurred. But now, the stuff that they're saying, it's just pathetic. We'll go through this because remember Kavanaugh? Don't ever forget that. Don't forget what they did. Don't forget that they were willing to lie about a man in front of his wife and children and millions of Americans in the United States Congress to just smear him with the most disgusting, obvious lies. It was the most politically grotesque thing I've ever witnessed in the United States Senate. And they're not ashamed of it at all now. There's been no apology. They didn't say, we're sorry about the excesses of our efforts to destroy Kavanaugh. Their only problem with what happened in the Kavanaugh era, the only thing about the Kavanaugh situation the Democrats regret, is that it was unsuccessful. They would redo it, and they would try to go even more disgusting and in the gutter to take him down, because they've been given these victories, and it's part of the left-wing approach to jurisprudence is that people who are judges, it's just the will to power, right? It's the mob mentality. I want this thing, therefore how do I get this thing? It doesn't matter if it violates sacred laws, natural law, principle, doesn't matter. I want it, so I'm going to get it. I'm going to find a way to do it. That's what Democrats do. That's how they think. And that was what they were thinking with Kavanaugh. We don't want this guy to get in the way of our super legislature, that is the Supreme Court, that hands them things that they would not be able to get through legislation. And then they have the entire media and academic apparatus to claim that, this is now settled law. Well, yeah, all Supreme Court decisions are settled until they're not, right? All Supreme Court decisions are settled until they're overturned again. But those commonalities, those areas of agreement around the most fundamental issues of jurisprudence and rule of law, they're evaporating with every passing day. Democrats want what they want, and they want it as soon as they can get it. And nothing else can be allowed to intrude on that. Their will to power, their lust for control of you, and to be able to enforce themselves, inflict their will upon you, outranks all these other considerations that we may have for our institutions or the rule of law or the Constitution. And we're going to see that now in a way that is hard for me to describe to you. I don't know where there is. I don't think it's possible to go lower than they did on Kavanaugh and to be more debased and honestly evil, but they're going to if they can. They're going to. But before I get to what I expect in the tactics and what they're going to do during a hearing, and let me also just say, I don't think there should be a hearing. Vote. These hearings are a joke. It's just partisan grandstanding, and people know what they're going to say. They should just vote. Do it. Get it done. They absolutely have no choice here. The Senate Republicans, if they think that they're not going to implode the Republican Party by delaying this until after the election, they're out of their minds. Although I do think Cocaine Mitch knows what the stakes are here. And on judges, Mitch McConnell, say what you will about him being a crony capitalist friend and weak on immigration. There's a lot of stuff you could say. Mitch McConnell on judges, this guy's been a machine. A lean, mean confirmation machine. And he's saying this is going to happen. And he said Kavanaugh was going to happen, and he kept his word. Now, there are some other concerns we have here other weaker members of the herd, so to speak, among the Republicans. I mean, I think Mitt Romney is likely to make Benedict Arnold look like a team player when all is said and done here, unfortunately. But you can lose Murkowski, Collins, Romney, and still win. Right? You could have a 50-50 tie broken by the vice president. You can still do that. That'll work. But they're going to come up with ways to pressure Republicans that are so underhanded and so vile that I worry about this. That's why I think the delay process is the delay of this process is a mistake. I would have named the person today, and I would have said, let's hold the vote within 72 hours. I mean, let's go. Let's get it done right now. Right now. You want to talk about energizing the base? Get it done. Promises made, promises kept. Now, the president's saying he's going to do it Friday or Saturday, and maybe he's seeing things I'm not. Maybe that's the right move. I'm just telling you, I think it should have been done right away. We don't have to go through some mourning period. It's not the Ruth Bader Ginsburg seat. She was, and rest in peace. And we don't, we are civil here, and there's nothing to be said about Ruth Bader Ginsburg right now other than she led a remarkable life, and our thoughts and prayers are with her family. But it's not her seat. We're not in some national period of mourning where we're not allowed to do any government business. That's not reality. We should fill this seat as soon as possible with the most conservative, qualified constitutionalist we possibly can. And I do believe that's Amy Coney Barrett. I think that's the move. It has to get done. And this is really a test of will now. This is a test of whether the Republican Party is serious at its core about its ultimate promises to the base, to its voters, and to the American people. This must get done. No retreat, no surrender, right? I mean, if you want to go Cobra Kai, this is strike first, strike hard, no mercy. That's the situation we're in here. Get this done, Republicans. Get it done. There is no other way. There's no other conversation. We need a conservative constitutionalist on the court. It is owed to the American people. It is owed to those who have been voting for Republicans for decades. Get it done. What does the COVID-19 pandemic have to do with you losing your home? Well, you see, the FBI has been telling people that cybercrime's up about 75% since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, and home title theft is a cybercrime. Here's how it works. The bad guys find your information online. Then they use a quitclaim deed to kick you off, put themselves on. They then take loans out against the equity in your home. It's so easy for them to do this. You'd be shocked. You often won't find out about this until the bills arrive in the mail or perhaps even a foreclosure notice arrives. You need to create a virtual barrier around your home's title with a home title lock. Just go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use the promo code BUCK. You'll get 30 free days of protection. That's HomeTitleLock.com. Promo code BUCK for 30 free days of protection. You can also check to see if you're a victim of this crime and don't even know it. HomeTitleLock.com. Promo code BUCK. That will get you 30 free days of protection.
Tonight, Mitch McConnell publicly, the night of her passing, he couldn't wait 24 hours, issued a statement saying that he was going to give Trump a vote in violation of her dying wish. People can say how appalling, people could say this is horrible, etc. But we know who this man is. We know who this man is. This is a man who does not care about a dying woman's final wish. Clearly, if Mitch McConnell is not going to honor RBG's final wish, we will, and we have to.
Break out the world's smallest violin here for AOC. Her dying wish. It's like a wish that's made. And it's so... No, that's not in the Constitution. We give zero bleeps given about anyone's dying wish about a Supreme Court seat. Do not care. There are 330 million people in this country. I could not give a crap less about what RBG's last wish is. Okay, as I said, respect to her and her family and their period of mourning. But this is about America and politics now. I don't care. And let's not even pretend. But notice just how pathetic and whiny this is. Oh, it's her last wish. We don't care. What, is it like a joke? You think that's going to stop anybody from moving forward with their constitutional duty? Unbelievable. But the Democrats haven't yet figured out what their approach is going to be. And this is, you're seeing in real time the truth of who the Democrats are, because they can't decide if their appeal is going to be, the precedent here, the principle should be that you don't fill this seat because out of respect for our institutions, or, so respect for norms. That's one way to go. The other side of it would be to say, which is what they're doing, that they're going to completely tear down these norms, that they're going to destroy institutions if they don't get their way. So you've got, some very loud voice, the Democrat Party saying, but what about our sacred democracy? And at the same time, you have other Democrats who are saying, we'll destroy our sacred democracy if we don't get what we want. So they're not sure yet. Are they appealing to norms, or are they threatening those norms? Well, the truth is they're doing both, which is what we should all understand is actually going on here. Look, this is not complicated. I mean, they're going to make it complicated as much as they can, and they're going to try to muddy the waters, and they're going to scream and cry, and, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. You're going to see stuff like you've never seen before coming out of Democrats' mouths, and that's saying a lot. But at the end of the day, Republicans can, should, and must fill that Supreme Court vacancy. There is no rule, there is no law, there is nothing that prevents them, and in fact, it is their duty to do so. And I think Democrats are even going to go full Alinsky on this. I believe that they will pull the equivalent of pulling the fire alarm in Congress. I mean, I think that they're going to try to block access. I think that there will be bomb threats against the Capitol from lunatics out there. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that they will go to any lengths, to any extent, to stop this from occurring before the election and hope that they just wear us down. I mean, that's really I think there are going to be threats of violence. I think there will be violence over this. Democrats have made this far, far too important to their sense of their personal identity as well as the future of this country without a clear control of the Supreme Court, which, look, the way it worked in the past was we pretended there was a swing vote. It's like pretending journalists are neutral. It's just a lie. The swing vote always went with the libs on big social issues on major cases. Kennedy, the swing voter. That was what happened. And now you have even Kavanaugh, who's, kind of a centrist. You got Roberts, who is effectively on some of the biggest issues a Democrat appointee, might as well be. And then we return to this whole thing about the court is not political. That's a lie, obviously, which is why Democrats are constantly crying themselves to sleep about who's on the court. But this is going to get completely insane. I mean, right now, they're just trying to figure out what schemes and ploys they'll use. But my friends, you will never have seen anarchy over the court the way that you're going to see it in the next few weeks. This is going to be a spectacle that a country going through a pandemic and roiled with rioting for months. I don't know how well we're going to be able to handle this.
So the first reason we're here is for unity, and the second is to honor her legacy, to demand that her last wish be fulfilled by the Senate. She said, "My most fervent wish is that I will not be replaced until a new president is installed." We believe that. So do the American people. Today, a Reuters poll came out and said 62% of Americans agree with her. So that means that's such a high number, it has to mean that Democrats, Republicans, and independents all agree that it is only right and it is only fair for us to abide by RBG's last wish, that she be replaced when a new president is installed.
Who cares? I mean, I know Democrats want to play this game of, oh, but we saw a poll, and this is her last wish. And we care not at all about her last wish. Zero. There's not even a little tiny part of me that's like, well, it was her last wish, but they're going to keep saying this. They're going to throw everything they've got at the wall and see what sticks here. That's for sure. Senator McCaskill, she's out there saying stuff like this. Play two.
I am so sad about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. When I called my daughter, who's in her 20s, to tell her, she sobbed on the phone. My heart was breaking for her because it struck her so at her core. So yes, I am sad about Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death. But the other thing I'm sad about over the weekend, Joe, is the death of the United States Senate. That's going to be the book that's written about Mitch McConnell. He's killed the Senate. With this power over principle, as John Meacham said, not only is Donald Trump killing the institutions that lift this country up and make us strong, Mitch McConnell is killing the United States Senate with what he's doing.
She is killing her exaggerations and metaphors here, but what is the principle? I mean, John Meacham's an annoying, smug little lib who just does their bidding over at MSNBC, so I refuse to read anymore. I read his Hamilton book. I refuse to read anything else. What is the principle here? Let's play the game for a second. Okay, Libs, what's the principle? The McConnell rule? The McConnell rule is that when the Senate is in the opposition party's hands from the presidency, you wait an election year. But also, that's just one guy's opinion, man. Doesn't really matter. Not binding. That's just politics anyway. So who cares what the McConnell rule is? And this still stays within the McConnell rules. So what is the principle? If you look at history, which the libs are hoping you don't, you'll see there have been tons of Supreme Court vacancies in an election year that were filled. Happens regularly. Obama tried to fill one with Merrick Garland, and, Democrats lost that round. Sorry, they didn't have the Senate. This is the system of checks and balances we have. That is the principle. What other principle is there? They just keep making this up. What's the principle? Why should we not have Trump appoint someone? And we'll get into who and what I think about all that momentarily. But, what is the reason for this not to happen? They don't have a good answer here. They don't seem able to even come up with it. They just keep changing what the different answers could be. And I'm also going to say this. A 20-year-old adult or, someone in their 20s who starts sobbing over the death of a Supreme Court justice is emotionally unstable and probably needs some help. That's weird. That's weird. It should not be so important to anyone. These are lawyers who are performing a judicial function. All right? This is not your beloved golden retriever. This is not a family member who means the world to you. This is a Supreme Court justice. That's weird. It's a strange thing to do, but it's a window also into the mentality here. Honestly, it's a window into the widespread mental illness of liberalism today that makes them think things like this. That they should cry, they should scream, they should be nutso over a Supreme Court justice passing away, and the prospect that somebody who's not going to just give them what they want is, too much for them to bear. These are people who are not well, folks. I don't know how else to say it other than just to come out and speak the truth on it. They are not well. I mean, here's a woman. This was going viral over the weekend. Some lib. Here's what she said. Play 6.
Holy you guys! I'm driving in a car, but I just got a notification that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died! Could this year get any
That's pretty much the Democrats' argument in favor of keeping this seat open until after the election. I also want to be very clear. Do you think they're going to stop their shenanigans? Let's say Trump wins and they didn't actually install a Supreme Court justice before the election. Do you think then they'd say, okay, Trump gets his pick now? No, of course not. They'd pull out the Kavanaugh playbook. They'd pull out all the stops. Oh, we need to keep the balance of the court. Understand this. When they say keep the balance of the court, they're admitting that it is an explicitly political organism in their minds. They just want it to be political in a certain way. Because if it were not political, then there'd be no need for balance. You would just need constitutionalists, jurists, people that can perform the duties of a Supreme Court justice. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. But we know that the whole confirmation process and what they did to Bork and others isn't about qualifications. It's about politics. So they're lying to you about all of this. They're going to continue to lie to you about this the whole time. That's their approach to it. They're just going to find ways to dress it up with terms like principle, but really, they're playing their own raw power game. Thank heavens they're just not in a position to ram through whatever they want with the system as we have it. But let's also understand this right now. They've already talked about, on the one hand, they say respect the system, keep it how it is, don't do anything like this. And meanwhile, this is what the system says, fill it. History, the system, there is no argument against filling this seat that isn't political. There is no argument against filling a seat that isn't political. Okay, it doesn't exist. So everything else they say to you is smoke and mirrors. But beyond that, they're also claiming that there should be some procedural objection to filling the seat while also saying, oh, the norms that we want you to protect now, if you don't do what we say, we will destroy those norms. Here is the dumbest United States Senator, Mazie Hirono, letting everyone know that, yeah, we're going to pack the court if you do this. Play 15.
Are you in favor of trying to expand the numbers of justices on the Supreme Court? Because it's actually not in the Constitution, the number.
So we can change that number. As I say, all of those matters will be on the table when the Democrats take back the Senate. None of those matters will be on the table if we do not take back the Senate. So that is why, even as we are fighting tooth and nail to prevent Mitch McConnell from getting his way, because his entire goal has been to pack the courts with lifetime appointments for young, usually white male judges and justices for life.
So everything's on the table, including court packing. Okay. But I thought we were supposed to respect norms. This is how Democrats always play politics. It's heads, they win, tails, you lose. There's no way to make them happy that doesn't involve doing what they want. No way. And that's why we should completely and utterly ignore them. That's why Senator Ted Cruz here is correct when he says, guess what? We need to do this. And for reasons of the functioning and integrity of the system and of the court, we need to do this. We need to fill the darn seat. Play 3.
20 years ago, I was part of the legal team that litigated Bush versus Gore for George W. Bush. I was a young lawyer then. In fact, I just wrote a book that's coming out in a couple of weeks called One Vote Away, How a Single Supreme Court Seat Can Change History. And one of the chapters there talks about Bush versus Gore. It talks about the epic battle where Al Gore challenged the election results, and for 36 days, the country was held in chaos. Well, if Joe Biden does that again this year and we have an 8-8 court, an equally divided court 4-4 can't decide anything, that could make this presidential election drag on weeks and months and well into next year. That is an intolerable situation for the country. We need a full court on Election Day, given the very high likelihood that we're going to see litigation that goes to the court. We need a Supreme Court that can give a definitive answer for the country.
Is there a good response to that, Democrats, that you want to offer up? Senator Cruz is absolutely correct. A 4-4, could you imagine what the country would be like if there was some issue of, vote counting or mail-in ballot delays or all these things, which Democrats are trying to make the process as messed up as possible so that they either win or they claim the process was messed up. That's their game. That's what they're doing. But imagine what the country is like if by 4-4 decision, we are left with, well, we don't know who technically won this election anymore. We have no higher authority. What are we going to do? Do a redo? A do-over? Think about what that would do to America and the people that are talking about our sacred democracy and protecting us and our norms and our institutions and all this stuff. That's all just lip service. That's all lies. They don't care about any of that. Who will have power? They use the Supreme Court as a super legislature, and they have for decades. And for the first time now, they face the possibility that that may no longer be the case. They may not have someone there to pretend that there's a right to privacy that mandates abortion in all 50 states and then creates additional special rights on top of that, like in Planned Parenthood v. Casey. They may not have a Supreme Court that decides that a tax is a penalty and a penalty is a tax, depending on what you want to say and when you want to say it, so that you can pretend something is constitutional like Obamacare when it's not, allowing the regulation of inactivity. They may not have, I mean, just go down the list. They may not have that last layer of protection for their whims and their demands, and they can't psychologically process that, which is why they do have people that are having these meltdowns. Well, they have these lib women who are completely freaking out. Why are they freaking out so much? Well, because they've always felt like at the end of the day, especially on women's issues, social issues, affirmative action's gone if you get another conservative on the court. It's racist. It's wrong. It's immoral. It's a violation of the Equal Protection Clause. It's not really very complicated. They can do a whole, but what about this? No, it's a violation. It is. And even Sandra Day O'Connor, in a Supreme Court case that unfortunately upheld by 5-4, upheld affirmative action, said, maybe in 15 or 20 years we won't have to do this anymore. Oh, so a time sensitive law. So it's unequal protection now, but maybe one day we'll. Anyway, there's so many of these areas, and the Democrats will have to wake up with the recognition that they've got to make arguments now about these things. They don't just have the super legislature to, by a 5-4 margin usually, tell them, no, that is the law now. Okay, well, that's not going to happen anymore. And they can't process it. They don't know what to do, what to say, other than just to panic, to lie, to cheat, to steal, to threaten. It's going to get so ugly, friends. I can't even really war game out for you how insane they're going to be, because I don't think that a person who loves this country, respects the law, and has any morality or decency could foresee what the Democrats are plotting on this whole thing. That's how much this matters to them. Oh, and then there's this other pretense the Democrats are going to say to try to keep themselves from being too sad late at night, that it's only because the big, bad, mean Republicans play so rough and the Democrats are the nice, good people. Here's the worst legal analyst on TV, the most consistently wrong, the most hyper-partisan, and least insightful, CNN's Jeffrey Toobin. Here he is saying the real problem is that the big, bad GOP bullies aren't having to deal with tough enough Democrats. Play one.
Democrats are great about talking big, but we'll see if he has if he and the other Democrats have the guts to do anything if they retake control of the Senate. Will they really add the 2 seats?
Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? I mean, if they're in control, why wouldn't they?
Because they're weak and they're wimps and they're afraid. And I think, the Democrats, we think about Bush v. Gore and, which David argued, in 2016, Al Gore said, no street protests. This is just a legal process. While David saw in Tallahassee and in Washington, the Republican forces massing against them, literally on the streets. I mean, there is a difference to how Democrats and Republicans go about these fights. And we'll see if Democrats learn anything from Republicans here. I mean, yes, it's interesting that Chuck Schumer has said nothing is off the table, but that's not a commitment to do anything.
I mean, Toobin is insane. There's a difference in how Republicans and Democrats do things. You think Democrats are we play fair, nice people? They've been rioting for months, you moron. What are you talking about? They've been burning down people's businesses. They've been destroying people's livelihoods. They've been attacking senior citizens in mobs in the street over justice. But Democrats play nice. That's their problem. It's tough to know if they're gaslighting or just insane. It's tough to know which it is. It's not easy to figure that out because it's just the complete opposite of reality. Democrats didn't accept the 2016 election, didn't accept the 2000 election. They're the ones that say, sorry, not going to abide by the rules. They talk about precedent. They don't understand. There is no precedent. There is nothing. There's no rule. There's no principle that prevents filling the Supreme Court seat. It doesn't exist, no matter what they tell you. It's not there. What is it? The McConnell rule? Who gives a crap? And the McConnell rule says you can fill it. So it's not even true. But then they go around and talk about how they should fill the Supreme Court with additional, when they have the chance, if they take back the Senate, with more seats. That is Normba. How many centuries has it been 9 judges, folks? That is norm busting. Are they that stupid? They don't know the difference? No, they know the difference. But they're like a child that wants a toy. And their toy is the Supreme Court. And they want it. And anyone who tells them no, they're just going to scream and shriek, red-faced and, spittle and rage and pounding the ground. That's their great legal argument for the Supreme Court right now.